Start with pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call or roll call, starting on my right.
Councilperson Josh Ernst.
Councilperson Brent Meyer.
Mayor Jimmy John King.
Councilperson Craig Anderson.
Councilperson Jeremy Allen.
Looking for approval of tonight's agenda. Any additions from my staff? Anybody want anything up here?
Make a motion.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That'll carry. Approval of the regular meeting minutes of February 22nd, 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That'll carry. Takes us to finance and budget. We've got the accounts payable, and the additional listing. Do you have any questions? You can ask Finance Director Carla.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Is there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That'll carry. That'll take us into motions and general business. Tonight under motions and general business, we have the City Hall computer upgrade server backup. The city is upgrading and adding carbonate backup for our servers. This will provide 2 backup sets weekly, 60 to 90 days on the cloud, and local backup of 180 days. This type of backup takes a page and breaks it into 64 sections. Each one of these 64 sections is sent to a different place on the cloud. This creates a safe environment for our information. Even if one of the cloud backups is compromised, the hacker would only gain 1/64 of a page and therefore would not get any essential information. There's no council action requested. It's just to let us know that what a great job our staff is doing of backing up all of our information for us. It takes us out of motions and general business, takes us to mayor's staff consultant reports. Tonight on the mayor's report, we'd like the city of Stewartville to send their sympathies to the families of Marvin Hoffman, Gary Miller, Alice Helverson, Gary Lee, Phil Denny. Phil Denny is a longtime citizen and an ex-fire chief and firefighter for many years, business owner, and Glenn Nesseth. A benefit for Lackland Lennis is this Saturday. The little guy has gone through so much since he was just 6 months old. As a 1-year-old, he received a pacemaker. Let's all show Lackland that his community cares and supports can go to this benefit this Saturday. It's the 18th annual Food for Kids, sponsored by Kiwanis, will be held on April 2nd after a 2-year layoff due to the COVID. If you are unable to volunteer, please consider a financial donation or you may round up your dollars at Fairway from January 31st through February 2nd. And I bet they'll let you keep rounding them up yet through March if you want to. Toast and Taste is fast approaching. If you haven't got your tickets, talk to some of the foundation members or talk to Cheryl or get them bought. Make sure it's on your calendar and have your tickets for the March 25th party. Today, if you didn't already know, it is International Women's Day. I'd like to thank all the women that make this city go round and make life for us council members much, much easier. Cheryl, Carla, Laurel, Angelique, Jenna, Joya, Lexi, and Melanie. I'd like to thank each one of you personally. You've done a fantastic job. I couldn't do it without you. That's all I've got. City Administrator's report.
Reports in your pack. Highlight 3 items for you. We're going to put a couple of your committees to work, and the Public Works one is going to review the bids for the CIP project to come up with a recommendation for the full council to approve. And we'd like that to take place over this next week or 2. I think you're already starting to see one of those
Emails.
surveys for dates to pick. Then we also need the Public Safety Committee to be I'll say on call, because we're starting to round up information now as we start looking into the research for law enforcement. And so we'll talk to all of you about whoever wants to be on that committee, but it'll mainly be headed up by the Public Safety Committee. Then the last item is, Mark did a great job in the paper about explaining some of our facility needs and space needs. If you do get questioned, just tell them this is just our first foray out into looking into all this. Everything's exploratory, nothing's set in stone, so we're just gonna be looking at a lot of different options. I've already done 2 presentations to the seniors. I'm meeting with them again tomorrow, they're bored, and I think Thursday or next Thursday again, just to keep everybody that we're gonna be looking out for everything, and we're gonna just look at a lot of different things, so. The only main thing that's on target to get started and get moving is the restrooms, concession stand, facility out at Bear Cave. But we'll start looking at all this, and so if you do get asked by the citizens, it's just strictly the start of all of it, so. I think that should do it, so.
Any questions for city administrator? Hearing none. Thank you, Bill. Finance director, Carla?
Auditors were in last week. They were on site on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. They were off-site and just emailed out questions, and we did everything by email that way. Haven't heard any questions from them yet this week, so I think all is on track and good.
Glad to hear. Any questions for our finance director? All right, thank you, Carla. Public Works director?
Reports in there, not too much going on with the lack of snow. Getting just projects around the shop and stuff like that.
Any questions for Public Works? Thank you, Sean, tell you guys thanks. No city engineer tonight. No library director, but we have fire chief, Van.
I do. Go real quick. Reports in front of you. Cheryl will post it. There's some things on the back that just so it's easier to go through this paper. February calls for service were down. 39 total calls, 33 medicals, 2 lift assists, 2 fire alarms, 1 carbon monoxide alarm, 1 public assist. As the mayor said, Phil Denny's funeral was Sunday. We had a good turnout of both current and retired firefighters there. A lot of the apparatus was there. We stayed in service, so we could have responded to any medical that happened or fire that happened during the service. But the family was very appreciative of the turnout for that. As was said earlier, we had a tragic death of a young child in the community. The first responders that responded to that did go through critical stress debriefing. Many of those responders have children about the same age as the child they worked on. So we did send them through critical stress debriefing to help them cope with that situation a little bit. All 4 of them were very appreciative of it. We're very complimentary of the process, and it kind of helps them go along with it. Just so the city council knows, we do have a number of options for individuals that are struggling with some of the things that they see while serving the community. Obviously, the city has EAP, we have critical stress debriefing, and then MinFire, which is a statewide fire kind of thing, actually has counseling sessions for free for volunteer firefighters also. So we have a lot of resources available for our staff to be able to cope with some of the things that they deal with. February training, the online training, as we talked about, we're doing online training and hands-on. Online training was search and rescue. Hands-on training was ropes, knots, hoisting tools and equipment, and then patient lifting with new truck 1. With that new platform, we had to reconfigure the way we would pick someone off a grain elevator or something like that. So we're just going through familiarization and making sure they understood how to use that new pieces of apparatus to pick patients up off as a high point. Also in February, the EMS training, we did scenarios. So we had live actors, i.e. the officers, got to act like citizens. So we had a CPR Lucas device scenario, traumatic accident, basically falling off a ladder, cracking the internet open, lift assist in a medical emergency. The staff seem to be really engaged with the new hands-on way we're doing training. They do basically the classroom component at home. So when they're together as a group, it's all hands-on. So it seems to be going really well. People are staying engaged with that. Last week, Carla set up a meeting with CETA. We've talked with CETA. They've helped us do some grants in the past. The most recent one was the People Co-op's Operation Roundup grant that Joya got for us. That got us 4 monitors for a very nice price. We didn't pay full price for them because of the grant. Those monitors are in, and they will be placed in service in the next couple of weeks. As soon as that grant or that invoice comes through, Carla and I will work to kind of close out that grant. But Carla did set it up with CETA so that we can talk to a grant writer regarding what the needs are for the department in the future. As we've talked about it with city administration, every dollar that we get with grant funding allows us to use that funding somewhere else also, be it for trucks or something like that. So we're trying to maximize the budget that you guys provide us and get the most bang for it. Grants are one way that we can extend that and make that budget go a little bit farther. So they were very proactive and helpful in that. So I do appreciate Carla and everybody else's help setting that up and looking for ways to help us extend that budget as far as we can. Regarding department staffing, we stay at the current amount. We did have a fire cadet start on February 21st. He sent a note, he's a high school student, sent a note to the executive board asking to participate in the cadet program. He was interviewed, went through an interview process, and then started on February 21st. He's been received really well, so we'll see hopefully how that goes. His long-term goal is to go to a 2-year school and become a firefighter. So it really kind of works into what we're doing here a lot with what we've done with a lot of our other cadets, giving them opportunities to experience what the job is like before they really commit to college and stuff like that. So way we just kind of give back to those young students here, and hopefully we're able to keep them on as firefighters through their college years, and if they stay in the area through that. We are adding on 5 new firefighters. We talked about this last month. They will be starting on April 11th. That'll put us up to 37. Yeah, 37. Anyway, a little bit over. Mainly, I'm trying to remember how many we're supposed to have. Mainly that is there so that knowing that we've got the 6 individuals that are getting close to retirement. They can retire at any moment they want to. They continue to be engaged. They want to stay on the department, but obviously time is just, at some point, they're just not going to be able to physically do it anymore. So we want to get these 5 people up to speed. It takes about 2 years for a volunteer firefighter to really get up to speed. All these people are coming with experience, so we're really just having to teach them the Rochester or the Stewartville way, the way we do it here, and stuff like that. So they should be able to assimilate relatively quickly, but it will take some time just by the nature of what we do. The last thing I want to talk about is the ISO report. So ISO is the Insurance Services Office, and then the Public Protection Classification. This is, if you guys remember, one of my goals was to get our ISO rating reduced or improved, and I'm happy to say that we were able to do that. So ISO basically, they evaluate the capability of the service the city provides for fire suppression, and that information is used by insurance companies to determine what the risk is for our community, and then they set the insurance rates appropriately. So one of the things, we've been at ISO 5 for quite a while, which is actually pretty good for a volunteer fire department. The scale goes from 1 being the best, 10 being the worst. We've been a 5 for a while. One of the goals that the department has had for a while is try to drop down to a 4. That will not have very much impact on residential insurance rates, but it should have a decent impact on commercial rates. So as we continue to try to develop the industrial park out there, it just puts us in a better spot to compete with Rochester because our insurance rates aren't going to be that much different than Rochester. So obviously it just gives us a little bit more of a competitive edge, and we become more competitive because of that. As a result of a lot of work, it's a lot of work with three efforts specifically, we were able to drop from a 5 to a 4. And the score was reduced specifically because Olmsted County Consolidated Dispatch Center made some improvements. Sean's team in Public Works made a lot of improvements, and then the fire department made improvements. So not any one department really got us to a 4. It was a collaborative effort of everybody kind of looking at their stuff, improving their systems, that got us down to a 4. You go to the last page, here's just kind of an overview of the scoring. It's just kind of broad view, you can look at it later if you want to. But if you look at from 2016, which is when our last audit was, to 2022, emergency communications, which is dispatch, they were in 16, they were 7.71 out of 10. They were able to upgrade it to 9.3. So they were able to improve a few things with some of the things that Melissa Burns and her team at dispatch have been doing to really improve that. And specifically, a lot of it was regarding the telecommunicators or the dispatchers themselves. They were able to add quite a bit there. The fire department, we went from a 22.52 to a 24.72. A couple areas of improvement we had was regarding our ladder service. The new ladder truck helped quite a bit. Our company personnel, just adding a few more personnel and some training. We did drop back on our engines a little bit. I need to look at that and see why we dropped back. We didn't really change anything there, so I'm not sure why we lost some points there. But we'll circle around with ISO on that to find out what that reduction was there. And then as we talked about with engine 3 coming on board, we will get some more credit for reserve pumper because we'll have 3 pumpers now instead of just 2. And then the biggest change here was Sean's team with the water supply. They were able to go from a 29.55 to a 34.96, which is a pretty good jump from what they did, what they're doing here. The last part there you see was called divergence. Divergence is basically the penalty for the fire department not being able to use every bit of water that Sean gives us. So we get penalized because we only have so much capacity. Sean gives us more water than we have, which doesn't make sense because if I have more water than I need, I think it should be good, but that's just, that's the way ISO is. Rochester gets really clobbered with divergence, but yeah, we got clobbered. So Sean gave us a lot of points, but we also lost a couple of points because he grew faster than we did. Fire prevention, community risk reduction stayed about the same. So you see here, we went overall as a department or as a community, we went from 57.94 to 65.33. So we're right in the middle of a class 4. So we've got some way we can go down a little bit. We're going to, the officers talked last night, we're going to see what we can do to try to push it up. I'm not sure we can get to a 3. There's some things, just being a volunteer service, we may not be able to do it, but we're going to try to see if we can get there, mainly because if we can get to 3, that means I'm just as good as Rochester, so I have a driving competitive factor, but I'm not sure we'll be able to get there. So me and the fire chief in Rochester have a little wager going on, so we'll see if I can push it and figure out some way to get there. So that's my report. Oh yeah, and then with that, ISO stuff, so we'll be working with CEDA, the Chamber of Commerce, our Facebook pages, both the city and the fire department, to try to get this information out to local businesses. The rating becomes effective June 1st, so we're going to want businesses to really reach out to their insurance providers saying, be proactive. Hey, it's changed. I want you to look at my rates so that we can maximize the impact of getting lower rates for community businesses if possible. So that's it.
Any questions for Chief? Chief, I thank you and your department for all the hard work you do.
I'm trying.
Thank you. No pool director report tonight, but they'll be coming up shortly. So, Committee Commission Board, Chamber of Commerce. No report in the packet, EDA, HRA, meeting next week. Finance,
No,
2 weeks. We're meeting,
2 weeks?
We're meeting before the next council
yeah,
meeting.
2 weeks. Before the next council meeting at 5:45.
for EDA.
For EDA, you got a reminder in your email today on it.
Correct.
Oh. All right, I stand corrected.
Completely confused.
What? Finance,
Nothing,
library,
nothing.
park board,
Got a meeting next week.
personnel,
Nothing.
I've got an informational item just for Craig, but
planning and zoning,
Nothing right now.
public safety. You're on, if you got anything. You got anything you want to report?
Pretty much covered one of the incident that we had, but I did want to point back to the night of the last meeting, the 23rd. The snow emergency was declared. There were 23 citations that were issued that night, and then additionally, 12 hours after, there were 3 more for that beyond 12 that were also issued. Looks like all the vehicles got moved, however. So, other than that, I've only had a limited amount of time to actually scan through the notes from the last 2 weeks, but it doesn't look like there was anything terribly tragic that happened. So,
All right, thank you.
yeah, absolutely.
Nothing right now.
We're gonna be busy the next couple of weeks. Ready?
minutes, we're just catching up. Past minutes for your information.
Last minutes of the annual report this year. Roll call?
They had a brief meeting last week, but those minutes will be coming, so it's just for some revision things to their long-term plans.
Transit Advisory Committee.
No report.
That's my favorite. Other than adjournment, that's my favorite part of the
I'm
night.
seeing that. Under communications today with People Energies, that's, shows you the PowerPoint that they presented when they were in Stewartville here at Elcon, when they came down here a couple weeks ago. No one wants the open mic? Well, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?